I didn't have my usual time to prepare for this, so I'm flustered. Playing with the technology.
So did you say that I could harass Ms. Balaclava
Sure.
about
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
pink slip? Because I've been checking the Navians. Actually, if you could just show me how to use Navians, that would be awesome.
Sure.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, okay.
You don't just have to like whip out Navians. But
Usually I actually have it already running, and I do, as a matter of fact, here, so we can do it. So when you log in.
yeah, okay. So if I go to colleges I'm applying to,
Mm-hmm.
so like all of these say like pending. Does that mean that like nothing has been submitted?
Let's see what that means.
And then I can look at a detailed status.
Right.
And like this like doesn't have any check marks or anything in it, and I'm not sure if it should.
Oh, I know.
But like it says initial materials submitted. So like.
Right. That's, I mean, what I can see is that it, Willamette, and Worcester have been sent.
Yeah.
But that's all I can actually see.
So like that's also all that I can see.
But you've submitted other things to the pink sheet?
Oh yeah, I submitted all of my pink sheets.
Then you have to pester her.
Okay. And like, is it appropriate for me to pester her?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I know, people pester me all the time.
Because I feel bad because like the deadlines aren't for a while, but like I submitted them all in like.
As long as the teacher letters
October.
are in, there's no reason not to send it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a reasonable question. I mean, I'm always glad if somebody comes in and they've been looking at Naviance, I'm just glad that they've been looking at Naviance, because so few people are open to the experience.
If it says initial materials are submitted, but it doesn't have any check marks, does that mean that all of them are submitted?
Yes, actually it does. It means that she hasn't gone in and actually clicked on things, but...
Okay.
Hey.
Nice mohawk, man.
Thank you.
Is that a faux hawk?
It's like close. There's like an obvious difference between the hair and the mohawk, though.
Faux hawk. Look at that one up.
I think we were just talking to somebody. I was at an MSON faculty meeting. I think there was somebody from your school.
Yeah, no, this is a faux hawk.
That's a faux. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, that's a totally faux. That's
like,
really different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been here since I was about 12. So. And even then, it was...
I like this one. It's called Fade with a Tail. Like you can shade it like a dragon.
Wow.
Nice. Hello.
And then we were all in one place. Fantastic. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving? Oh, get some tight.
Sorry.
Let me close the door here. We don't want this secret knowledge getting out in the world.
Never.
I'm at extension 134. If you need anything, feel free to ring.
Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so welcome back. Let's see, we've finished up with lesson 10 before. I should begin, as usual, by asking whether you have any questions on the words there. Remember, we're doing just the odd numbered exercises in 1 and 2.
What about, is that the same for 9?
No. 9 is the last normal lesson.
So then for the final, are we doing all of the words that are in there?
No. Lesson 9 is, well, I mean, everything's on the final, right? But there are no words from lesson 9 on the final. Only lessons 10, 11, and 12. And then only the odd numbered ones.
Oh, that's nice.
It actually makes it only a few more words. Well, half again as many words as it would be for a quiz, so it's manageable. Uh-oh, I made Rose angry.
I'm trying to figure out how to turn on the other TV, don't worry.
Oh,
You just like dove out of your chair.
You know, I wonder if that, that's my fault. I forgot to hook something up here, Rose.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know, because see, Josh is at 6, so.
Yeah, we are tech doodless today.
Where are our tech dudes?
I don't know. I'm busy, I suppose. Otherwise, they would never miss. Well, you know, they come for Jeopardy because it's entertaining.
That's true. Would it be okay if I went to the bathroom real quick?
Sure, I hope so. Let's see if this may make a difference in your reception, Rose.
The TV wasn't on before, so now it's on, so hopefully it'll work.
That will also make a difference. Okay, so now I'm connected. I wonder if that means I have to go back out and come back in. Go out and come back in.
I don't know. Let me look. I'm going to look over here. Let's see whether.
Oh, sorry, it fell apart.
Uh-oh. Falling apart is not a good thing.
That's not a good thing, no.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I thought I had a few more years before that started happening, but I guess not. Let's see. There we go. Now at least I'm sending.
Oh,
I don't
yay.
know if you're receiving, but...
Yes, I am.
Excellent. No, I'm gonna... I hope that will keep us connected. Okay, good. So, back to the original question. Any questions about the words, the odd-numbered words in lesson 10? While you're thinking that over, I'll just again say, because it's been a while, right? The things that will be on the final are, at least, I'm not quite finished making it up, but at least it will be, the first 2 parts will be exactly like a quiz, except they'll be much longer, of course. They'll be 3 times as long. The words only come from the odd-numbered sections of lessons 10, 11, and 12. So we did 10 the week before Thanksgiving. We'll do 11 this week, 12 next week. You see my plan there unfolding. And then the last week, I think what I have to do is set, it's through e-college, just like the quizzes have been, and it's set up just the same way. So there shouldn't be a new format to get used to just because it's an exam. I think you take that with your liaison, whoever that is, and there's a sort of time limit there. I would say probably that's going to be after class on the Tuesday of that week and before class on the Friday of that week, so that I can maybe make it a little bit more like Thursday evening, so that I can hopefully grade the exams on Friday, and that gives us something. I mean, we have the last class of the last day of the last week of the school year. It doesn't seem like, I mean, I don't want to make you, I can't think of any way I could make you do any actual work on a day like that. So I thought we might come up with some kind of we could do a Super Jeopardy.
Can we do it like only on the fun things?
But what do you mean? You don't think it's all fun? Is that what you're actually saying?
Okay, hear me out. Like, there's some...
Like, you mean like rhyme time?
Yeah, like all of them could be rhyme time.
I can get to work on that. If you guys really want to do it, I'll go for that. And I also want to be able to let you know before you go away for the holidays how you did on the final exam too. So.
I don't know if I want to know before I go.
Oh, you probably do. Because thanks to e-college, you can get your whole grade. The minute I finish grading it, it updates your entire grade. I love e-college. I don't know if anybody else has problems with it, but I love the fact that it tells you what grade you have in the course immediately after you do an assignment. So
that is nice.
So that's basically the way class will run. So I've just been vamping till Q. Anybody have questions on lesson 10 words? I also have a little.
I just felt that the FY combination was mean.
Yes, the FY thing, ficare and all that business. It's kind of sneaked in that little shaded box. Where they put actually all the important stuff is in the shaded boxes, but they've made you used to not looking at them up to this point because nothing important has been in the shaded boxes. So yeah, FY meaning to make something, like ossify, turn something to bone and all that. But again, it's something you use without thinking about it probably.
Yeah, that's why I recognized it with a lot of things, and then I was like, where is it?
Yeah, but where's it in the book? Where's the explanation for it? All right.
Like, I need my book page on it, actually. And then I was like, maybe I typed these wrong, because I put all of the things into, like, a Word document so I could command find all of it.
Wow.
And then, like, so if I'm like, oh, I really need a suffix that looks like this, and then you just command find, and you find it, and you're like, this was the best decision ever.
Oh, cool. No, that's actually very clever. The I technically is a connective vowel, and phi is the, but in fact, you are almost never going to see phi without the I in front of it. So.
Yeah, so I was, like, looking through my document, and I was like, I can't find anything that looks like this. And then I, like, emailed you, and I was like, I don't know where this is.
Yeah, it was like 4 a.m. or something, because I saw this email come up. It wasn't quite that early. It was 7-ish. And I saw this email come up about etymology, so I dropped what I was doing.
Drop it.
As I always do.
Like a hot potato. I think I might have sent that to you at, like, midnight.
Oh, well, it didn't arrive. I happened to be up early that morning, but I always drop everything for etymology.
Yeah, I sent it to you.
So no word questions on lesson 10 at this point? If not, there is one other thing that I can tell you for sure is going to be on the exam, and that's this little lesson, a chapter 10 review. Can everybody see that? It's in Adobe Connect, but it might also be on my screen. I don't know. As long as you can see it large enough. Oh, no, we don't want that. So, yeah, actually, Rose, I know you already know all of this, so give somebody else a chance.
Doubtfully.
So this is going to be on the, I'm just putting it out there so you're not surprised. This is going to be on the exam pretty much in this form. It'll be a fill-in-the-blanks thing. So let's see if we can do this. It's okay if you don't know at this point, by the way. I just want to review it so that you have a fighting chance when the time comes. So let's see. We'll start with Robert just because, I don't know why. Beginning in the left ventricle, and yes, you can have your book open or your study guide or whatever. This is also on the study guide. I don't want to cover it again today, and maybe even next time and the time after that, because it's complicated. And it's really good to know if you are an owner of a heart. So, beginning in the left ventricle, the blood passes through which valve? Think about where it's going, and it's got to go through a valve that's named after that place to get into it.
The atrium valve.
Something like that. What's the biggest blood vessel in the body?
The heart? No, wait. Don't. Nope. Nope. Nobody write that down.
Aortic valve?
Exactly. The aortic valve, the full name is Rose.
Aortic semilunar valve?
Yes, although aortic is fine for me. And so that passes into the aorta. We won't waste a simple question like that on Rose. From here, it passes into the body system of larger blood vessels called the Rose.
The systemic circuit. Is that what you're asking for?
But that's not what I'm asking yet, although that's true, and I would have to mark it as right. Specifically, which blood vessels does it go into here?
The lungs.
Oh, the arteries.
The arteries, exactly. Really sort of basic thing.
Is it the kidneys?
Is it the kidneys?
Are you sure?
I'm not really positive. I got this out of the book, and I'm just giving it the way I see it.
No, the kidneys.
In my opinion, it goes into the arteries. So, for instance, the arteries which supply blood to the heart, this will be Brits.
The arteries that supply blood to the heart.
They sit on top of it kind of like a crown.
Yes, they're the coronary.
That's the ones they are.
Coronary arteries.
And from here, that is from the arteries, blood passes into smaller ducts called, Joan, these are small mini arteries?
Arterioles.
Arterioles, yes. It sounds to me like a snack in some way, I don't know, or a breakfast cereal.
What?
I know, it sounds strange. And then into the blank, Robert, which are the microscopic ducts, sometimes so small, etc.
Vesicles?
No, not yet.
No.
Actually, yeah, that's a whole different system. That's a different system.
Yeah.
These are it's the Latin word for hair or fuzz.
Ooh.
It's also the smallest form of spaghetti.
Capillary.
There you go. For me, the easiest way to remember is capellini angelica, one of my favorite Italian dishes. So these are the microscopic ones. Now we're coming back out the other end. That is not arteries anymore, but what are the smaller forms, Rose?
Venules.
Yes, exactly. And then, Britt, into the larger ducts called larger venules would be?
Superior vena cava.
Not yet. Actually, it's much simpler than that. Don't overthink this. So we went arteries, arterioles, capillaries, and then coming back we have venules, and then bigger than venules? Veins, exactly.
Yay!
Yes, there you go. And those, let's see, such as the blank, which brings blood back from parts above the diaphragm. This would be Jones?
You just said it. Superior vena.
Exactly, the superior vena cava. And Robert, the one that brings the blood back from parts below the diaphragm?
Inferior?
There you go. Marvelous. Both of these vessels bring blood into the blank of the heart, Rose.
The right atrium.
Right. Remember, atrium is the waiting room. So it waits there actually only for a couple of seconds. Then it passes through, Britt, this is a hard one, I think, through which valve?
Is it the systemic? No.
The systemic valve.
I hate these diagrams. The pulmonary valve.
Not quite yet. If it does that, you're in heaps of trouble.
Oh, right.
Because it means you just bypassed your...
Is it no, it's not the septum. Is it? That's not
it better not be passing through the septum. No, you've got your heart wired all wrong there.
Wait, which way are we going again?
We've just entered the right atrium.
Oh.
So we're headed towards the... Yeah, I don't want to give it away.
I'm looking at it backwards. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So it's the tricuspid.
There you go, the three-pointed valve.
Because I was like, this is the right side.
No, this is actually. I think if you make a mistake and laugh over it, you are much more likely to remember the right answer when you get there. And Rose is laughing at us all because she knows this.
Rose is feeling superior.
She's feeling superior, like that vena cava, right? So we go through the tricuspid valve, and where does that take us, Joan?
To right ventricle.
The right ventricle, right.
Nailed it.
Let's see. Now it goes through, of course, arteries, arterioles, et cetera. But now, Robert, it's in what body part? Not the kidney.
Are you sure? Robert, don't let him get you down. It's the kidney.
You use it to breathe.
It's your kidney.
Lungs.
Your lungs, exactly.
Kidneys.
It will help. This is all good for your kidneys, no question. But this particular body part is the lungs. At last passing through, and this actually you knew this already, didn't you, Rose? Through which veins? Ultimately at the end.
The pulmonary veins.
Right. And you call them left and right, don't you?
I don't know.
They are on the left and right lungs, so that makes sense. One of them is sometimes called superior and inferior because they come back in one slightly above the other. But left and right pulmonary veins is correct. And that brings blood back to the heart, specifically which atrium would it be now, Brits?
Yes.
Which waiting room?
The left.
The left, exactly.
This is when your heart gets re-normaled.
Exactly. And the blood is all back where it belongs, only now it has oxygen or hemoglobin in it, oxygenated hemoglobin. And, Joan, that brings us through which valve? It's got two names.
Bicuspid.
The bicuspid, which is also called sometimes, there's two ways to get this one right.
I don't know.
This is also called, well,
The double cuspid.
the double cuspid. No, actually, no, that sounds like a dessert too.
The half cuspid.
What would you call it, Rose?
Bicuspid.
You may call, maybe most people call it that now. It's also called the mitral valve.
Oh yeah, and the mitral.
Because it looks like like a bishop's hat. So, okay, well, this will be good. This, as I say over and over again, this will be on the exam, so make sure that you know that, like the back of your hand, so to speak. Okay, so much for review. We've spent about 15 minutes on that, so shall we go on to the joy that will be the respiratory system and lesson 11? I'll take your stony silence for a resounding yes. Okay, let's see. Just not to confuse, we will share the screen as well as, so you can see this wherever you can see it. So I don't know where we stopped again. I'm just picking on Robert today for no reason. So this is the word stuff. I'm sorry, Robert. I'll send it to you in writing. What's alveoli?
Hollow or cavity.
Right. I have on these cards made the Latin-derived words in lowercase letters and the Greek words in uppercase letters, but you do not need ever on a quiz or a test to tell me what language it comes from. So
I would love if you were like, and list all the Latin words and list all the Greek words, and we'd all be like,
yeah,
kill us.
I think no, you would probably kill me.
Cavity.
Wow, that's pretty. I didn't realize it was going to do that. Alveoli, it even pronounces that. Oh no, it's a Latin word for cave, basically. How do I turn that? There we go. Just turn that off. Amygdala. That goes to Rose.
That means almond, doesn't it?
Very good. Yes. How do you know that?
Amygdala in the brain.
Because I know that the amygdala in the brain is supposedly sort of shaped like an almond.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know whether that's actually a thing, but
No, it's definitely a thing. Yeah. Amygdala means, but it's also there's another part of the body that's shaped like a.
Yeah. It also says tonsil.
Yes. Right. So that's just usually what it means, but not always. We'll go to Britt for anthrax.
Anthrax.
Is that a word?
Anthrax, isn't it? It's just anthrax.
No.
And coal?
It means coal, yes.
Huh.
So the disease itself has nothing to do with coal. That'll be an interesting
That's
thing.
weird.
Yeah, I know.
Happened.
Well, I shouldn't say it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with actual coal. But that's one of the fun things in this lesson is why some of the respiratory disorders are named what they're named. It doesn't sound like it would be fun at all, does it? And yet it is. Let's see. Then this one goes to Joan. Oxyoxus.
Grow or increase.
Right, exactly. Like augment is another word that comes from that. Back to Robert for bacteria. You'll never guess.
It's bacterium or small stuff.
Right.
Or small staff. I thought it said small stuff.
Right. Small stuff. That's the one thing it's almost never going to mean is small staff. That's what it means in Latin. But in this course, it's always going to be a bacterium. Rose, you're not allowed to look this one up.
Just the bronchus.
That's all it means. In plain old English, that's the windpipe. Cap'n. This would be for Brit. This is a trickier one, I think.
Cap'n. Yeah. Smoke, carbon dioxide.
Yeah, for me, it's hard because I know it's the Greek word for smoke, and it's also carbon dioxide, which is what it's always going to mean. It will not really mean smoke very often in this course. Coccus. This goes to Joan.
Caucus.
Right, which is also the Greek word for, do they tell you berry?
Yes.
I'll show you why later on. I have pictures. Robert, Coney, like the island in a way.
But not.
Dust.
But not. Say again?
Dust.
Dust, right. Actually, do you know what Coney Island is named for? Not dust, as it turns out.
Name for someone named Coney.
I thought you, of all people, would know this.
I should, because I've been there.
It's an old Anglo-Saxon word for rabbits.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Isn't it rabbit?
I grew up over there. And
Yeah.
rabbits.
And now you know. It's Bunny Island, basically, is what that means.
Have you seen that island off of Japan that is, so it was, okay, wait,
I've never
guys,
been to Japan.
Guys.
I should have never brought up rabbits, but since I did.
It's on the internet, right? So it's this island where they used to do experiments there, and then after World War II, they, like, shut it down. And so they were doing experiments on rabbits, and so the rabbits were all domesticated, so they just kind of, like, left. And so the rabbits just, like, the population of rabbits just skyrocketed.
Wow.
Because, like,
they had something to eat, obviously.
And there were no predators, like natural rabbit predators. Nobody else there. So it's just this island inhabited by these really friendly rabbits.
Wow.
And there are at least hundreds of them. And, like, if you go there with, like, a bag of food, they're like, I'll come and flock to you.
That's an ideal vacation for you, isn't it?
Just like...
Wow. Oh, we have to take up a collection and send you there somehow. Let's see, who was that?
Is it Okunoshima?
Ah.
Yes.
Okunoshima.
Found it.
Interesting. Shima, I think, means island, actually.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, have you said Japanese too?
No, I don't know why I know that.
You just have
Probably because one of my friends is obsessed with anime.
I don't know why I know it either, but I do. Okay, so
Jima and Shima are similar.
Meanwhile, let's say again.
Jima, Jima, is similar to Shima, so they mean the same thing. It means Rabbit Island.
Rabbit Island. It should. Okay, Rose, Libby.
Lips.
Lips, right.
And may I go to the bathroom?
Absolutely.
No.
Thanks.
And let's see. And you get the tough one, Britt. Larynx.
What do I always get?
You don't. It's not the tough one.
Larynx.
There you go. I was just being sarcastic. Who, me? Oh, Joan, you drew the real tough one. Paresis.
Paralysis.
Right. Para is, Greek for by the side, and isis is a sort of dropping. So when your arm drops by the side and you can't move it, you're paralyzed. That's paresis. Back to Robert. Again, don't really need to look this one up, but...
Pharynx or throat?
Exactly. Yeah, it is basically the Greek word for throat. Usually it'll mean pharynx. I don't know. Does anybody ever hear this pronounced as pharynx?
I've never.
I should hope not. No, that's good. I get that from my college students sometimes, and I'm not really sure why.
It's just kind of stupid.
Or lazy, or but I've heard someone in a doctor's office do it that way, and I just thought if they don't pay more attention to detail than that, I don't want them reading my CAT scan or whatever it was. Let's see. We skip Rose and come to Britt for fizz.
Air, gas.
Right. Remember, it can also mean.
One of the tittle.
Yeah, it is, because it does. Doesn't it sound like it's the name fizz? Onomatopoeia. It's also easy to confuse with phy, meaning plant, and phys is identical but meaning nature or appearance. So you just got to keep your eye on fizz.
Oh yeah, like I looked at bi and I realized that bi means life, but it also means
to, like bicycle. Yeah. Right. Joan, plur is yours.
Pleura. Side.
Right. It's a Greek word for side, pleuron, but the pleura are the sacs that the lungs kind of rest in. Not to be confused with plural, plural, but everybody knows what that means. Robert, pni.
Breathe.
Breathe, right. Anybody ever had French?
Yep.
Oh, right. You know what pneu is in French?
What?
Pneu, pneu. You would never have used it. It's the French word for tire, as in the thing you have on your automobile, because they're inflated with air. They took it from the Greek. And this goes to Britt, I guess, pneumat?
Pneumat. Breathe, air, gas.
Yes. More of that breathing, airing. And gassing, slightly different for Joan, pneumon or pneum.
Lung.
This is the thing that actually does the breathing, right. Robert, cider.
Iron?
Iron. Where does that come from? I do not know how you will remember this, but cider means iron.
I thought iron was like for something.
I want iron in there.
You're right, Robert. It is. In Latin, ferrum is Latin. Ferrum.
Oh, this is Greek again?
This is Greek, right. Yeah.
We went backwards.
Yeah. And we will keep going back and forth now for the rest of time.
I don't like that.
This is Brits. Spire or spirat.
Spire, breathe.
Yes. Think of any words that will help you. Perspire is literally to breathe through. Staffel. This goes to Joan.
So many things.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Let's go with that one.
Palette. Staphylo.
Is that like the staph infection?
Yeah.
Microorganisms.
But it does mean bunch of grapes.
Microorganisms that cluster together. Like
Right. I'll show you a picture later on, which it looks just like a bunch of grapes.
Yay.
Stern. Back to Robert.
Chest, breast, or breastbone.
Right. That's the Greek for that, of course. Steth to Brit. It's what a stethoscope investigates. Yeah, right. The Greeks had so many words for chest. I'm not really sure why.
Because they were very different chests.
Possibly. Well, some of them are the words for armor or garments that you would wear over the chest too. You get all the microorganisms, Joan. They're strept.
How do you pronounce that ending?
Streptococcus?
Yes, that. Microorganisms that form a twisted chain.
Right. So strept means twisted in Greek. Back to Robert. It might be familiar from Latin. Sudor.
Sweat or fluid. I don't think it is. At least not for me.
In Spanish, also sudor is sweat. Sueur in French.
We did learn that the other day.
Yeah. And I want to give it away, thorax. But you know what that means, of course.
That's like the back of an ant.
Yes, although it's actually the front too.
Oh, you know what? I actually don't know.
Oh, it's your thorax is right here. It's also your chest. Another word for that. In Greek, it meant a breastplate that you would wear as armor. But the thoracic cavity is the chest, the inside of it. Trachea, spelled two different ways for Joan.
Trachea.
Right.
Didn't we already have that word?
You had tachy or tachy.
Oh, yeah.
Without the R, it means fast, tachycardia, and trachea means rough in Greek, actually. And the trachea is rough to the touch, I gather. I've never touched my trachea knowingly, anyway. So, okay, there's your word bits. That'll give you something to think about for Friday. No quiz, of course, but who cares about quizzes when you've got a game to play? Let's see. Yeah, okay. So now, brief introduction to any questions on the words. The assignment, of course, is to do the odd-numbered exercises. Let's see. Share a different document. You can see this. Yes, I think you can see that. Okay, just a couple of things. Again, we don't need to do that, but big picture. Sphere or spire means to breathe. So you have this respiration. Re is Latin for again, or sometimes it means again and again. So if you remember, ation means the act of, spire is breathing, and re means again and again. So the act of breathing again and again is respiration. Leaving us inspiration, which strictly technically speaking means to breathe in which direction? Inwards. And expiration, which means to breathe outward. So we think of inspiration as being something quite different from that. And you all know what that means. And expiration too is like when you shouldn't drink the milk after the expiration date.
Oh yeah, when it goes out. So I guess it probably means something like the life breath or something going in or out.
Exactly. Right. When you breathe out for the last time, you have expired. And
oh God, that's so upsetting.
It is. It really is.
Sad.
It really is. But that's why they call it that. And notice I have on the slide too. I don't know how clearly you can see it. Expire is EXPIR, but it really was originally EC, meaning out, and then SPIR. So the division of that word can be a little tricky. Otherwise, not much to it. So here's our new. This goes in the study guide, and this is probably also going to be on the final, but it's much simpler than the respiratory. So again, if I ask you on the exam, where does the air enter the body, you all know where you breathe through, nose and throat. So
I feel like everyone on the exam will be...
Right. Just take a deep breath, and it will become obvious to you. A lot of this you will actually feel. No. It's not.
What if it was?
If it were, it wouldn't be a final exam.
I think it would be.
It's a lot of material.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to narrow it down so that you don't have to guess what's going to be ordered. So from lesson 10, I can just tell you from your etymological notes and from your guide, your study guide, it's just that thing that we did today. That's all, besides the words, of course. So you don't need to worry about, Paracelsus and all those scientists. So it was interesting, but I'm just going to tell you right up front, they're not going to be on the exam because there's too much material in all of this to let you guess.
Were we all taking it on one day?
No, actually, I'm gonna give you a time frame, probably after class that Tuesday, and before the end of the day, before midnight on Thursday.
So we can take it unproctored?
It will have to be proctored. That's an MSON rule. So you have to take it with a liaison, which means, you two being here, you can set up a time with me if you want to. Or I think our tech guys, I don't know, Mr. Pym is actually our liaison. So the final must be taken proctored, but you can set it up with your liaison at your school, at any time you would like to.
Which week does that have to be?
That's the last week of class.
The 19th.
The 19th is the last day, right?
Okay.
So I want to have it graded so I can give it back to you, so to cybernetically speaking, give it back to you during that last class, where we'll do some kind of celebratory thing. Maybe a big old Super Jeopardy. I would order food, but I'm not sure I can send it to Connecticut and Texas in time for the party, so we'll see. Or we would just insist that you get us something from Chipotle, Robert, but again, it's not going to make the trip, so.
Wait, you guys,
No.
can we do an etymology Secret Santa?
Oh, gosh.
No, like if I set it up, can we do that?
Sure.
I don't know how we would do that, though.
I don't know how, but.
Mail is usually a good bet.
See what you want to
We
do.
could do Secret Santa on the last day, and we could just send it all through the mail to
That's so
our
stupid.
schools.
So that we can get it in January?
Or we can all open our presents together on the last day. Whatever you guys.
Arrange on
We'll have to do
Facebook.
that.
Arrange on Facebook.
Well, no, because you have to be in on it too.
Oh, I do. Okay. So onwards, the detail of the passage of air, and then I can give you your assignment. In through nose and throat, we know the pharynx. I'm not going to quiz you on the size of the pharynx, but I do think it's interesting stuff. It sits right behind the nose and mouth, and it's about 4.5 inches long. Obviously, that's something that you also use to eat with, so we'll come back to it next week as well. But that's what it looks like. Again, I don't know how clearly you can see this, but it's the colored portion of the diagram that you see there.
Oh, that's all of it.
It's really, it's kind of cool. The pharynx, of course, at the end of the pharynx, you have to make a decision. Am I eating or am I breathing? You cannot do both at the same time. So today we're breathing. So that brings us to the larynx. And I put those notes in not larynx, basically because I've just heard it mispronounced so many times. But not in this room, cybernetically speaking. This is, of course, also, the larynx is also called the pomum adami, in Latin, the Adam's apple. Reference to the story in Genesis that it sort of stuck in his throat, and it certainly should have because God told him not to do that. But it's also bigger in men than women, so it's more visible, which is, 44 millimeters as opposed to 36 millimeters on average? The organ of voice. Easy way to remember, if you have trouble with pharynx and larynx, there might be pharyngitis, but you never heard of it. But laryngitis you have heard of, and that's what happens when you can't speak, so obviously that's the voice box. So it's a little, those are your classmates, Robert?
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to mute it?
Nah, that's okay. That's okay. It's actually quite entertaining. There's the larynx a little further down. So we've gone in through the nose and throat, down through the pharynx to the larynx. And then we come to the trachea, which is, again, about 4.5 inches long. Mother Nature had a plan, evidently. In English, this is the windpipe. The Greeks, who named it, thought it was an artery. I'm not sure how you could get that mistaken impression by doing a real autopsy or a real dissection, but they just named it the rough one.
The person doing it.
It's because it has rigid walls.
Right, exactly.
So therefore, they probably thought it was, I don't know, something.
Right. The rough is easy to guess if you've ever seen a trachea, but it's odd that they thought it was an artery. There must be some reason. I don't know why.
I think it's I think it's because the walls were rigid, and so they thought that it was maybe self-contained.
Right,
I don't
very
know.
possibly. Very possibly, that's right. But yeah, it's named for its kind of texture. And then it splits, and it turns into the bronchi. The plural is bronchus, though if you get bronchitis, usually it's in both. And just like with arteries turning into arterioles and veins turning into venules,
Bronchioles.
smaller branches, you got bronchioles, exactly. And the alveoli are, of course, what you have in the lungs, the little sacs, the little caves, is actually what they mean. It means mini cave in Latin. This is where oxygenated blood joins the bloodstream and gets back through the pulmonary vein, just as we just did, to the heart, and oxygen is then taken throughout the body, which is where it belongs. So there's the bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli. So let's see, what are we doing? Okay, we're in good shape, actually. Well, yeah, we'll review this again next time. I want to skip over a little bit. Okay, right. So here is what you can do for the rest of the period. We could actually finish this period if you get that far. I wrote these down. So I have 5 diseases here. Everybody gets to pick one. One is diphtheria. Second one is emphysema. Then we have influenza, anthrax, and tuberculosis. Since there are 5 and only 4 of you, I'm doing one myself. So what you have to do for the one that you pick is figure out why it's called what it's called. So give us the etymology. Why is diphtheria called diphtheria? What does diphtheria mean? The second question is really why. Why call it that? Because none of them literally make any sense. Well, maybe they do make some sense, but they can't be taken literally. So your assignment, your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to explain the etymology of the term, and then, you only have to accept one of these missions, and I'll do the last one. So, anybody want diphtheria? Sorry, that came out wrong. We have diphtheria, emphysema, influenza, anthrax, and tuberculosis.
I want diphtheria.
Okay.
Tuberculosis.
So Britt has diphtheria, Joan has tuberculosis.
I just spelled diphtheria.
I'll take anthrax.
Okay, anthrax for Rose. And Robert, you have emphysema, or what's the other one? Influenza.
Influenza? I'll take influenza.
Okay, good for you. And I'll do emphysema. God forbid.
Is this in the book or is it?
It's all in the book. You can, but I mean, obviously you could look it up online too, just however you would like to.
I also just realized why pneumonia can be so many different types. It's because it's such an ambiguous term.
Yes, yes. So Friday we'll finish up this lesson and then do the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire thing again, and then we'll go back to Jeopardy.
wants to like write something down?
You can just report out. You probably will want to jot down some notes for yourself but you can do that as people are reporting out. Because I'm thinking I probably put these on the exams too.
And will you put that in the study guide?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you gonna make like a big final exam study guide, or do you want us to use the lesson guide?
It's going to be, I think, this is what I envision happening. It's going to be the study guides for lessons 10, 11, and 12 with a couple of things crossed off.
Okay, great.
Which we'll go over that at the end of lesson 12. Well, as soon as I've basically got it made up and know what's really on it.
Okay.
Can I use the restroom real quick?
Sure, help yourself.
Okay.
Dr. Seward,
Yes.
you'll be interested to know that tomorrow, I wish I had actually gotten to tell you this earlier because it would be useful, but I'm taking the National Classical Etymology exam.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is a national thing like those, like Spanish and Latin and all those things.
Yeah.
I've taken it for the past 2 years as well. It's pretty fun.
Oh, good.
And so I figured I could tell you so that, I don't know, in previous years you guys could take it if you wanted. It's a
no kidding.
fun thing.
Do you think this course helped at all? Because you already knew a lot of the roots going in.
Yeah, I think it definitely helped. I mean, the etymology exam itself has a lot of focus on the verbs and like the common etymology of the verbs and
right.
both Latin and Greek, and like that wouldn't necessarily help because we don't learn the specific verbs themselves. We just learn the roots, but it's still super useful for the English words.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, and for spelling. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
That too.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you. You'll be fabulous, though.
Yes, you'll be fabulous. Is it like the SAT? Is it out of 800 or?
No, it's like, I don't know if you're familiar with like the National Spanish exam, National Latin exam, those type things.
Sure.
It's like that. I think this one takes 45 minutes at most. I think it's 45-minute time limit, and I believe it's like 50 questions? I don't really remember. No, more than that.
You take that through an English class, or?
No, they announced it like a couple years ago, and I was like, okay, why not?
You register for it at some central location, and then you go take it at another high school?
No,
or?
I mean this Hopkins at least just sent out an email saying anyone who wants to take it reply back, and we'll put you on the list. And so tomorrow's the time that we're all taking it.
I see. I have to remember that. I might like to administer that here, see if anybody wants to take it.
Yeah, you should do it.
Yeah, sounds cool.
It's cool, and it's at least it's pretty easy to earn prizes. So.
Very important. And also, a lot of people don't know about this exam. I didn't know about it.
True. Like last year, like a certain percentage of people, but last year I believe we had like 30 people take it, and a good, I think 20 of us got awards.
Wow.
So.
And of course you put that in your applications then when you apply to college.
Yep. Among other things.
Well, in your case, I have no doubt. Okay, so how far along are we?
11.
I'm ready whenever.
Okay. Well, let's start with I don't care. Is diphtheria ready? I forgot who I said that to. Okay, let's go with diphtheria.
Okay, so diphtheria is it comes from the word diphtheria. I don't know, diphthera.
It sounds Greek when you pronounce it that way, though. That's
Diphthera,
good. Right.
Which is Greek for leather.
Right.
And it happens because there's like a leather-like membrane made of pus that forms on surfaces in the air passages, and then it swells up and you can't breathe.
Right. That's right. So okay, I'm writing exam questions as we go along. So if this was a 2-point question, what is the etymology? What's the etymology of the term? If you were just to take it apart, diphthera and ea.
Leather.
And ea?
Condition.
Leather condition. Right. So there's our etymology. That would be 1 point. The second point would be, why is it called that?
Because it forms a leather-like membrane over.
Exactly.
Mucosis.
Right. The causative agent of diphtheria actually kills cells in the throat, and combining with the pus that results from that, it makes a leatherish membrane that makes it really hard to swallow. So yeah, exactly right. So that would be worth 2 points. I like this idea. Okay, so who had emphysema? Oh, that was me. Sorry. So we'll skip emphysema. We'll come back to that and do influenza. I think was that you, Robert?
Yes, it was, and I'll try to speak loudly over classmates because the bell just rang. But so influenza, it's the Italian word for influence, which literally means a flowing upon.
Right.
And so I couldn't decide really why it was called that. It was either because it was really widespread in Italy at the time, or because of the nature of mucus. So I didn't really know which one it was. And then later it was applied to one specific contagious disease called Le Grippe, or something.
French, right?
Yeah. Which was like the most prevalent, I think, of all of the things called influenza.
Right. And of course, nowadays we just call it, you get a shot probably and you never get it, but
yeah,
we just
for the flu.
But yeah, actually, we don't know for sure why they called it influenza, although it seems to be, if you look in the early medical texts, it's because they thought that the disease flowed down on them from the sky. They thought that's why so many people in one place would get it, because the disease just sort of flew down on them or flowed down upon them. They didn't, of course, have a germ theory of disease in those days, so they didn't have any idea how it was transmitted from one person to another. Doesn't it seem strange that you could know about disease and not know about germs? It just doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, and yet with smallpox or whatever, when they had the masks of potpourri because they thought it was through smell.
Right. They just didn't have a clear idea about
and
that.
It kind of worked because they were wearing masks full of potpourri.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to go. At least it's good to be smelling as
but it also kept
as
people
possible.
to cover up their
right. Which does help even against influenza.
And
or
they
flu.
burn the bodies and stuff.
Right. Which is also very hygienic and they knew that, I think. They thought of it as a purification ritual. So right, influenza means influence. It's from the Italian actually, one of the first Italian word we've had, I think, meaning flowing down upon. So for 1 point. For the other point would be because it means flowing down, that's what they thought, that's how they thought you got it. So there's influenza. Who had anthrax?
That was me.
I hope you recovered.
Not the poison in the envelope?
Yes, actually. Not
yeah,
too
they
long
sent
ago.
it. Yeah.
Rose will tell us all.
Sorry.
No, fine. Well, anthrax is a very infectious disease, often fatal, caused by the spore-forming bacteria Bacillus anthracis. I don't know.
Right, exactly right.
Sure. It's commonly found with hoofed animals, particularly goats, like domesticated like goats, horses, sheep, cattle. Humans can either get it from exposure to the animals or their products, as in hair, wool, whatever. And there are a couple different ways in which humans the disease can manifest in humans. One of them is cutaneous anthrax, which is characterized by, I love this word, by reddish carbuncles.
Yes, it sounds so cute.
On the
And yes.
skin.
Right.
I just love that word. Yeah, and they're also called anthrax boils. And it gets that's where the disease gets its name, because the color of this these boils, this irritation, looks like burning coal or charcoal.
Right.
So
yeah, that's
the
right.
analogy. And another one is inhalation anthrax, which, yeah, you inhale it, bad stuff happens, pretty much.
Right. That's what they were sending the powder back in several years ago. There was a kind of an anthrax scare. Right. So again, if it were to be a 2-point question on the test, anthrax essentially means what in Greek?
Coal.
Coal. Right. Exactly. And yet it has nothing to do with coal. It's caused by, well, this causative agent, which you read out. But it's called anthrax. It's called coal because of the carbuncles that appear. They're reddish and they're covered with a kind of ashen-looking skin, so it looks like a burning coal. Yes, I know.
Why?
And that's because carbuncle sounds so cute and almost edible. But
I'm gonna look it up, and I'm probably gonna regret it.
yeah, I did not put a picture of this. I looked it up, and I did not.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. I looked it up.
It's very unpleasant. You don't want to have carbuncle. It's really icky.
That's disgusting.
Yes. I tried to tell you.
Oh God.
So you'll never forget.
You didn't have to look.
It did though. It's like, oh.
It's icky. Well, fortunately, I shouldn't say we won't find pictures of tuberculosis, but you shouldn't look for them. So what's tuberculosis? Why is it called tuberculosis?
So it's early signs are lesions right on the lung tissue.
Right.
That, are collections of, it says, giant cells that are called tubercles.
Right.
Tubercles are little swellings.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
tuber, I guess. Right. Well.
Right. Tuber is a root or a swelling. Yeah, in Latin.
Like I don't know. I couldn't find. Okay.
No, that's right. It means tubercle means mini swelling.
So yeah. And that's where you add osis, so tuberculosis.
Right.
And I don't know. The rest of it just talks about like when it was a thing, how it was fading out,
and hopefully isn't going to be fading back in anytime soon. Right, exactly. So for 2 points, then, tuberculosis, the etymology of it means condition involving miniature swellings. What those swellings are the lesions that it creates on lung tissue. And they are made up actually of gigantic cells.
Didn't that used to be like a death sentence?
Oh, yes. Well, it wasn't really a death sentence if you could afford to get yourself to Switzerland or someplace high up in the mountains soon enough. The air is cold and without humidity, and people could recover from tuberculosis that way.
Did they recover themselves, or did they always have to stay there?
No, they could. They would go to a sanatorium. You read about this in 19th century British novels all the time. You go to a sanatorium, and you get better. And once you're sufficiently better, you rest up. You can go back home. I think a desert would also be an appropriate place to go for such a thing. So.
That's nice that they were able to live.
Yes, but of course, if you couldn't afford to do that, then
You died.
then you were the pathetic character in the British novel, and you passed away terribly.
And
Yeah.
you died.
So can you guys see this? The etymological note. This is going to show you some of the pictures. So right, diphtheria. We already know all of this stuff. That is a picture of the thing that causes diphtheria. No, these are Corynebacterium diphtheriae. It's a club of bacterium. But you can see it's a little bit wider on one end than the other. So to me, it looks like Mike and Ike's. Looks like stuff I'd eat in the movie theater. But don't eat this stuff. Dangerous. This is what I was supposed to tell you. Emphysema means in, and then phys is air, and ema is condition. So it actually is named because you have trouble expelling the air from your lungs. Basically, your lung tissue has become less pliable, so you have to make a physical effort to breathe. It's very, very unpleasant.
So you die pretty quick.
You can, actually. You can get this from smoking, actually, so don't do that. I forget I'm teaching to the camera.
Yeah, Robert.
Wasn't talking to anybody in particular.
I mean, look at them both.
But you did right. You don't want emphysema. It's very bad, and it doesn't go away. I mean, you can live with it, but it doesn't get better.
Really?
It really doesn't get better. Once your lung tissue is in that state, you can't make it pliable again. So just don't. Emphysema then means morbid excess of air, It results. Why is it bad? Because if you can't exhale enough, it means you don't have the capacity to bring in enough oxygen. And if you're not exhaling, then the carbon dioxide that stays in your system instead of being exhaled. It's very.
Oh, is that like when people breathe pure oxygen for some
Right, exactly. Because you're essentially, your system is poisoning itself with the carbon dioxide. So stay away from that. Influenza, Robert has already enlightened us sufficiently on that. I think it's called different things. It's interesting, the Greek word catarrh, which people usually think of as meaning the nose flowing. Of course, that means flow down on in Greek, too. Pneumonia, we didn't do pneumonia. Don't worry about that. But I thought it would be interesting to look at the pneumococcus.
It looks so fluffy.
It means lungberry, literally, and that's why that's what it's called. The color of lung tissue, and it looks like a berry. Staphylococcus. If that doesn't look like a bunch of grapes.
That definitely looks like grapes.
Right. And here's our twisted berries, Streptococcus. I'd put that on a Christmas tree. I totally would. It's just little twisted strands of Streptococcus. Pardon?
Your bird's nest.
No, I actually haven't put up a Christmas tree in 100 years. Well, about 100 years, but quite a few. And of course, I have lots and lots more pictures, but I also see that it is 3:30 on my computer, so I should let you go. See you on Friday. We'll finish up the little bit that's left of Lesson 11, go over any questions you have about that. I'll tell you a little bit more about the exam, and then we'll play, what is it, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? With Robert is the phone a friend, and everybody else going ahead. Excellent. Okay, so have a good week, everybody. We'll see you on Friday.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good luck on your
Thank
test.
you.